Well, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this week I'm going to do something a wee bit different. We had a week off there and I had time to look through a whole bunch of tutorials and videos on YouTube, more around how to improve my use of Lightroom. So what I thought I'd do is share the kind of top 10 tips that I've learned, but also brush up on some of the features that I've used, but maybe using the new features in Lightroom, just do it a wee bit different way. So join me and let's see how we got on with this tutorial. To my 10 top tips and new tips that I've been learning and brushing up on. So the first one is how to use a crop tool. So if I select the crop tool here, then what I can do is I can actually change the size of my image. So if I crop down to 16:9, and what I'll do is I'll just zoom in a little bit so that, as you can see here, the back of the car has got small space to the edge of the frame, but the front of the car has got plenty of space, and that's so that we give the car room to move into that empty space. So we've cropped the image. Now what I'll do is I shall straighten it up. So there's a couple of ways of straightening up the image. You can use the angle option, or you can just press auto. So let's press auto and see how that gets on. And it does nothing in this instance because it'll be difficult for it to see a kind of horizontal line, no doubt. So if I just use the ruler, then that gives us a straight object. Now the other thing is, if you want to use the crop overlay tools to help you with your composition, just press 0 on your keyboard. Well, we must make sure that crop is highlighted. Press 0 on your keyboard and up pops grid lines. So the grid lines will help you look for a straight horizon, for example. And then you've got various sizes, and then you've got various triangular shapes, 4 more triangular shapes, and then the rule of thirds. So that's how we use the overlays. All you need to do is, on your keyboard, when you've selected the crop tool, if you want to use these overlay tools, press 0 and it helps you alternate your way through your image. Okay, so now let's move on to colour range selection. So I've got this image. So what I might do is I'll go into masks and I'll select colour range. So these blacks are all very dark. So if I select the black tone on the rock, now what I can do is take away the mask, but the mask is still live. I've just disabled it. But what I can do, and I'm just going to show you an extreme example here, I can increase the exposure so that you can see the detail in the rock. However, that's not quite natural because there were shadows. So we'll pull the shadows up just a bit, again, not too far, but just enough to give us the hint of the rock. And that's just one use of the colour range selection tool that we would use in the mask option. Now the sky mask tool. So again, we go back into mask, that's the icon here, and I select sky. So this is a feature that I use a lot, but what I actually don't want to change the colour of the sky in this image because that sunset is really nice. What I do want to do is bring up the foreground and get some detail out of all these blacks. So the way I can do that is to protect my sky. I've selected the sky first. Now what I can do is invert the mask, and then that highlights my foreground. So if I turn off the mask, even though the mask is still live, I can then start to push up some of my sliders, not too far, bring up some of the shadows. So as you can see, that just doesn't look realistic enough because it has to be dark-ish. Maybe tweak some of the clarity, some of the texture sliders just to give me a little wee bit more detail. I could try and push up the whites, not that great. I don't want to go too far because I don't want to make it too bright. and then it looks unnatural. So the other thing I can do here is I can warm up the temperature so that whilst we've got a reddish sunset, I can warm up the foreground just a bit. And there we have it. It's as simple as that. If I don't want to amend the sky, but I want to use a sky that's already there, as I've underexposed that image, my foreground was dark. That's a quick and easy way how to bring up the foreground. So this next example is all about using clippings. So up in the histogram here, we've got icons. We've got an icon here that will help us identify underexposed areas, and we've got an icon here that will help us understand overexposed areas. So if I select the overexposed area and I increase the exposure, what you'll start to see is all the reds are the areas where it's burned out and it's completely overexposed the highlights. Equally, if I then select the top left hand area and pull down the exposure, what you'll start to see is blue, and those blue colours are areas where it's completely underexposed and I've lost the detail. And that's just a quick way to help you identify areas in your image that are overexposed or underexposed, but using those options within the histogram. Okay, so in this example I've got this image where I'll show you how we can use the histogram feature a wee bit more creatively. So that sky has some detail, but if I was to pull down the highlights, as you can see, it starts to bring in the real detail of the clouds. But there is a quicker way to do it, and what you can do is use your histogram up here. So you can grab an area in your histogram and you slide it along, and then that'll make the changes for you. Now the good thing is, what you'll start to see is the equivalent slider actually makes a change, so it's easy for you to see what you like and then make that adjustment later on. So again, I can just pull up the shadows, increase some of the clarity, increase the vibrance, and as you can see here, we've got an underexposed element where we've lost the detail in the blacks in the tree. So all I need to do there is just lift the shadows a wee bit more, and then we lose the blue out the tree, and that means that we've got detail left in that tree. Okay, so for this image I'll show you a quick before and after tool. This is the before and after icon, but what we'll do is let's make some amendments. So let's quickly select the sky, take off the mask so I can see what I'm doing, slide down the highlights, increase the dehaze. Now that's going to give me quite a strong blue, as if we've used a polarizer. So what I might do is quickly go down and just go to saturation and just pull back the blue just a bit so it's not too strong, and then go back up. And then what I can do now is pull down the exposure just a tad, and then back to mask, select a new mask, and I'll do a linear gradient mask. I'll drag that up from the bottom. So now what I want to do is give a kind of contrast and balance in the image where I've got a darker bottom. So the focus that I want you to look at is in the middle. So we've darkened the sky. I can put in a new gradient and pull that down from the sky. We can use similar type settings, but if I just darken it a little bit. I'm just doing this quite extreme so you can see the uses of the different masking tools. So this is the radial tool. I love this tool, I use this a lot. So what I can do here is single out some of the trees. I can brighten up the trees like here. I can move that around, I can reduce its size, I can pull it in. So there's lots of things we can do to help single out a specific area, but because we've got a kind of dark top and a dark bottom, I'm really doing this just so that we can help over exaggerate the image, because, and as you've seen there, I've went too far with the blacks and we've lost the detail in here because the clippings are still on. Right, so if I do done, that's me changed. Now if I select the before and after, you can see the before image and you can start to see the changes that I've made. So it's quite a useful tool, and if you select the before and after icon, it gives you different views. So again, it'll all be down to preference and what you like, but again, it's just another feature. You may not like it, but hopefully it's just another useful tool that you can use to let you see the changes that you've made to your images. So now let's look at how we reset the changes that we've made in a section. So let me go to the exposure slider, increase exposure. Let me really slide up those whites, pull back the highlights, lift some shadows, pull down the blacks. Actually, let's increase the blacks, and I go, oh, that's horrible, I don't really like that. So on your keyboard, if you're using a Mac, you would press Option. Any other laptop you would use Alt if it's Microsoft. So hold down Option, and then what you'll see when you press Option or Alt, that tone changes to reset. So all I need to do is keep my finger on Option, click that once, and it reverts back to the original edit of the image. So it's really helpful. If you've went too far and you can't remember what you've done, all you need to do quickly is press Option and then select the top, and again it's in all the options. Each of the different panels you can reset. So in this example, what I'll do is I'll quickly do a quick crop. So I'm going to do a 16:9. I've done my 16:9. Right, now what I want to do is go down to the HSL panel. HSL panel is down here, and on the top left hand side here we've got a colour pin. So this colour pin helps me select different colours. So if I drag the colour pin over, click on the blue, then what that allows me to do is change the colours. So anything that's got a blue in it, and as you'll notice here in the water, we've got blue in the water as a reflection, it starts to change colour. So again, you can push up, you can push down, and it's a great wee feature to help you quickly select colours. Now I use the slider to go left or right. Whilst I'm on the blue, if I keep my finger on it, if I push my mouse up and I push my mouse, drag my mouse down, that equally allows you, whilst you're using the mouse, to make those adjustments to the colours. So this is the spot clone tool removal. So I don't know if you might be familiar with this in Photoshop, where you use a spot healing brush and it does a really good job. And for years I've always wondered why we can't do it in Lightroom, but obviously now Lightroom with its updates has got its changes. So you select a spot healing brush, but to help you see the spots on your lens a lot easier, we can select visualize spots, and we can use the slide bar to give it more intensity, and that allows you to see spots that you've never actually, that you can't really see with your eye. So what you do is you select clone, and then you can change the size of your brush with the open brackets, select an area, and then that will start to remove the spots for you. So there's a spot there, select. So some of this might not be that perfect, but we can adjust that when we go back to view the image. Right, so if we turn visualize spots off, there we go, those great big glaring spots are away. Now I've also got vignetting here that came from the polarizer, so all I need to do there is just do a crop. So if I go in here, let's do a, say a 4:3, and then that'll get rid of the vignetting. Equally, you can go in and you can play about with the spot healing brush again and do some cloning, and that'll get rid of the corners and the edges if you want. But the other feature that the spot healing brush has got that's new to me in Lightroom is the healing brush. So similar to the healing brush in Photoshop, if I select that area, it takes that rock away. So let's try this. Select that area and it takes that rock away. So it's a feature that I wished Lightroom had for years, and then that's me just discovering it now. So you probably know all about it, but that's me really just discovering it. Okay, so last but not least is how do you stitch a panel together. So I've taken these images, so if I select the first image, hold the shift key, select the last image, then that will give me my images highlighted. So in Lightroom, all I need to do is go to Photo, Photo Merge, Panorama. And then what that will then do is it'll automatically join and stitch those 7 images together to give me a single panoramic view. So the other feature here is you can have auto crop or auto settings enabled or disabled. So I usually select auto crop and auto settings. Now auto settings is quite handy. Sometimes it can go really saturated, but in this instance it's bringing up the sky nice, it's bringing up the aqua in the water, and it's bringing up the oranges and the yellows in the sand. So all I need to do now is press merge, wait a couple of seconds or more, and then we will get our panoramic image all stitched together. Okay, so here's our panoramic image, and as you can see, it's done a pretty good job of stitching it together. Hopefully this has been useful. Well, I hope you found that tutorial informative. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've learned something new, and I really hope that some of these tips will help you in your future edits. So thanks very much for watching the video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that will let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.